All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this installment of the Ninox webinar series. My name is Morris Hewling. I'm the head of strategic partnerships at Ninox, and we've got a really special webinar planned for you today, boosting efficiency during the COVID-19 pandemic. Our guest speaker is Quinton GoForth, who is a managing partner at Triad Unlimited. Triad and their team provide end-to-end strategic advisory consulting services to customers from a wide range of industries, and that's including life sciences. They're actually working directly with several companies who are developing COVID-19 vaccines, so it's very exciting. And their story is really one that I'm super excited about. They're an extremely data-intensive business that was running completely on spreadsheets until they got started with Ninox. So what we're going to hear from Quinton today is about how Ninox allowed the Triad team to digitally transform and streamline their business, and about all the significant savings that sort of go along with that. The solutions that their team has developed are just really awesome. They really demonstrate the power of the Ninox platform. So I'm excited that we'll be able to go through a demo of some of those today. And afterwards, we're going to have some time for Q&A with Quinton and myself. But Quinton, I will kick it over to you now to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company. Welcome to the webinar.
Yep, appreciate it. Thanks, Morris. So I'm a degreed mechanical engineer, managing partner, as Morris mentioned, for Triad Unlimited, CMRP certified. So that's just a certification, a fancy term for certification within the asset management realm. Lean Six Sigma black belt trained. And I've been the system architect. You know, Morris and I were talking in prep. I'm not a coder, so just right off the bat, I'm not a database programmer by any means. So I've walked into this really with no coding experience, maybe limited in the macros, and really jumped into using this platform. So I think that's going to resonate through here. But I have global asset management program experience, just working with companies to utilize our services to optimize their day-to-day operation. So enough about me. We'll kind of shift in quickly, just to give you guys an idea of what we're going to cover. We'll do a quick intro of Triad Unlimited. For those of you new to Ninox, it's a database platform in the cloud, really awesome platform. So we'll kind of emphasize that throughout. I'll cover a few slides on Triad Unlimited, just so you guys have a better understanding of who we are. And then we have about 8 emphasis points. We've kind of brainstormed these last few weeks. And really, I think these emphasis points will resonate with you, but just to give you guys an idea in about 2 minutes what this whole webinar is about. And I think it's going to depict really the benefit of this platform, and really, our ability to provide services through the platform. We'll cover challenges. That's when I think it'll kind of open up to more of a general conversation, but we'll cover challenges, our actual experience using the Ninox platform, what we built, and that will kind of transition into the demo. So we'll demo some stuff, we'll have some Q&A, and hope to make it pretty interactive.
Great, sounds good.
Just quick slides here. I know this is just kind of the overview. So we are who we are, right? We're asset management practitioners. We specialize in developing sustainable solutions to fit customer-specific problems, right? That's our big thing, is making sure that we customize that solution specific to the need. We have extensive maintenance and reliability experience working with various industries. As Morris mentioned, we've been fortunate to work with a number of life science customers, and the COVID pandemic and vaccine is, it's kind of hitting us the same way it's hitting everyone else as far as the importance. So we've been fortunate with respect to those customers. And but we also support a number of different industries, and we're recognized as trusted advisors. So what we do, we provide data-driven maintenance and reliability services and solutions in alignment with our framework. This is an overview to kind of depict the various verticals that we support. These are what we call management systems. The details within each one of the gears are the next layer down, which we call functions. This framework really drives the day-to-day transformation of the asset management operation in support of operational excellence. So how do we engage? When do we engage? We engage with customers anywhere on the maturity continuum, from innocence, greenfield operations, or immature organizations, all the way through excellence, more specialized kind of fine-tuning or risk-based needs. And one of our core services is what we call an asset management gap analysis and improvement plan. And this provides a continuous improvement mechanism to understand where to start, right? Can be considered complex when you look at your overall program. And that's really the starting point to understand where to start, right? That's the mechanism to understand where to start. So how do we deliver services, right? Where do we focus? So our framework is multidimensional, includes process, people, data, and sustainability. And it's really establishing the processes that need to be in place to drive asset management, the people that are responsible for those processes, what data they interface with, and that's the big part of this, overview today, and utilizing Ninox, just really empowering that data and accessing that data. And then lastly, sustainability, making sure that you have a measurement, a metric to, of the data to make sure that people are following the process. And these are really the focal points of our consulting services, as I mentioned. And two more quick slides for our overview. The second to last one, why does it matter, right? So why does asset management matter? We take a holistic view of it and what we call the big picture. And we're looking at both cost performance of capital and operating expense. So there's a lot of money that goes into the assets that drive these business needs. And, we focus on both the front end and the capital investment and really the operating piece of it. And then lastly is the risk aspect. So our program risk evaluation, via the gap analysis that I mentioned, it measured the inheritability of your organization to successfully achieve those objectives, whatever the business need is. Could be safety, environment, quality, cost. And lastly, how do we work? So we recognize that, data-driven decision-making is at the core of an efficient operation. And we perform customer-specific data analytics, in this case, via the Ninox platform and via our Triad Unlimited asset management system.
Awesome, thanks for that intro, Quinton. I also just wanted to reiterate for all of our attendees, and we talked about how data focused your company is. Can you give us at a high level, how much data is your team managing from different sources on a regular basis, and how were you guys managing that up until you came to find Ninox?
Good question. You'll see we have some facts to share there as we get into this, but hundreds of spreadsheets, right? So and really, hundreds of thousands of records, right? So if you spread it all out, I think our most complex is we have like a 60,000 rows if you're old school Excel. Now that we're in Ninox, those are individual records that we manage, and I think they had 60 different data fields. So lots of data. Which we'll touch on in a number of different ways, but it just goes back to the security, the access, the ability to have algorithms and analytics. So, lots of spreadsheets, lots of data, and we are just heavily data driven. I mean, that's really and I think we'll emphasize some other points here, but I think now with the way that things are changing and evolving throughout, it's driving pretty much every business at this point. No longer is it leaning on the person that's been there for 20 years. You want data to validate and, really drive those objective and risk-based decision-making.
Awesome, thank you.
So I just wanted to kick off just a quick overview before we get into the actual, case study, just, these 8 emphasis points. The first is, Ninox has empowered Triad to support our customers making these risk-based, data-driven decisions in a real-time, transparent platform. We have access, the customers have access, they have the right access, we have the right access, right? So I think that's a very powerful statement, and that, couldn't be more true. We've been developing an optimized remote working model for several years, leveraging our Relialytics asset management system, and that's our software that we use to manage, analyze, and optimize data. And as you guys know, most everyone here by now, with the COVID-19 pandemic, it's really made that remote working model a requirement. And I think, this platform has validated that that's an extremely effective model, and that our model is kind of tried and true. And really the key to the transition going from our Relialytics model in the previous platforms, primarily static Microsoft Excel or Access platforms, right, to a robust and dynamic Ninox cloud solution. That was really the key to all this, enabling us to optimize, our customers' CMMS data and leveraging our internal data libraries and our, IP with respect to the algorithms and the analytics. Then 4 more quick ones here. the Ninox platform, the Ninox platform, apologize there, it drastically accelerated this development. And I think I'll speak to some of the time that I had in certain spreadsheets and then how that translated when I shift over to the Ninox platform. We'll have some kind of facts to show you guys there, but it really allowed us to achieve our goal in a fraction of the time. And it afforded us as a company to, convert that into tremendous efficiencies for our customers, right? We emphasize value for spend, and that's a key item there. The Relialytics and Ninox combination with the virtual platforms such as Zoom that we're on now and Teams, I'm sure those of you who have been interfacing with those, it's really eliminated or nearly eliminated our travel costs, right, to our customers. And once again, optimizing that value for spend. Probably hurt the airline industries and travel industries, but, helped everyone on the call today. And last two here, we've been very fortunate to have long-standing working relationships with several global customers, including biopharma customers. And it's allowed us to validate this remote working model, leveraging Relialytics and the Ninox platform. These are industries where 100% compliance of data integrity, quality, and control, they're absolutely required. That's another one of the strengths that we're going to touch on when we get into the case study. And just in closing, I feel I'm a spokesperson. I mentioned before, I'm not a programmer, right? And I'm a spokesperson for every frustrated reliability engineer and really asset management practitioner out there that's desired a better way of compiling, managing, and analyzing data. This data being stuck in a spreadsheet that multiple people can't see and multiple people can't update, and only these rows and only these columns, or potentially in the CMMS platform, getting it out and really having it visible, having it transparent, and driving those decisions. So that's just an overview, and we'll kind of jump into the case study and probably have it a little more open conversation, to your point, Morris.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you mentioned the new work from home model that everybody is shifting to here, Quinton. We had a LinkedIn poll for many of our attendees, which people responded to around what is the willingness of organizations to adapt new cloud-based tools like this in the wake of COVID-19, in the wake of everyone having to work from home, and the need to be able to collaborate effectively. Almost all attendees there, we had near 100% response, said they are more willing to embrace these types of technology. So I would just ask, as far as from a collaboration standpoint, how much has Ninox helped your guys' team? How many people are actively working, in the Ninox solutions that you guys have built? And are you managing the permissions and controls within the Ninox platform to work more effectively than you would have in spreadsheets?
Yeah, I'll try to be succinct in that, because that's like the one of many major home runs using this platform, right? So it's kind of, I joked with you earlier on the intro call before we jumped on here. It's like life before Ninox, right? And I told you about the greater team that we're working with. Projects are challenging, a lot of data to analyze, right? Complexity, getting customers to align, confirming processes, right? Getting everyone on the same page. Those challenges will always be there, but we say, you know what? But we're not in that version 128 spreadsheet, which I'll flash up here later, and having to work through all that, right? It's so much more collaborative. It's just so much more easier to interface on. It's black and white, right? It can't even be compared, to be honest. And I'll say it now because I mentioned to you before, but an individual that's in a spreadsheet managing data, if the expectation is that another person's supposed to be interfacing with that in any capacity, whether it's updating or just reviewing, it just doesn't make sense to keep it in that platform. You want it more in a cloud solution like this. Yeah, I guess just in closing that really, the security piece of it, right? Maybe that's for another deep dive, but in a succinct statement, you guys have simplified the way of who can read and write the data. It's very easy to follow, and setting that up, it's not complex. You don't have to be a programmer to figure it out. And I think that's one of the things that you guys really did well, right? Is just setting that up, which is important. If you think about, different access to spreadsheets and data and records, I think that part's been set up really well.
Absolutely. And as you said, I think we'll dive deeper into that later during the demo.
I'll just kind of pull up this as a backdrop, some of the specs, but getting into the challenges, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So at this point, I would love to just hear you guys, talk about having a business that was so dependent on spreadsheets. What were the man hours that were going into? What were the challenges and the pain points? And what was keeping you up at night? What were the main issues that you were facing running your business as you used to?
Just many spreadsheets, as I mentioned before. The versioning of those, who has the file, who updated it last. God forbid somebody fat fingers it or does something that overrides it, or what are they? I told you once again earlier, it's like I opened up these 4 spreadsheets that I'm going to show, and my computer made a noise that it hasn't made since I stopped using Excel. It was like bogging it down, right? So corrupt, right? The file gets corrupted. But lots of spreadsheets, many customers, not alone, right? This is going to resonate with everybody that's used a spreadsheet and had any type of ownership of it. But many different purposes. In this case, we work with many companies, many users. The bulkiness of it. I think the one is 35 or 38 megs. It's getting to the point to where you couldn't even transfer it. Luckily, SharePoint expanded that, and email started to expand that, so it afforded us to be able to share these things easier. But just bulky, clunky. The one thing too is the static data, right? Having the data relationships and the challenges with the data control that we talked about, making sure that only the people that should see information see it, and those that should only write it, right? And there's even other layers of controls that we can show you in the spreadsheet that we developed that big thing we touch on is the QA piece, right? So when has something been quality assurance reviewed? That's quality is one of our core values. And the controls that are afforded in this platform to make sure that once it's confirmed, then it's checked off, right? And you don't have to revisit that. You don't have to double check it. We were spending this isn't really in the interface because that's one thing I didn't list here, but optimizing the interface with the platform with Ninox versus Excel. I could probably do a calculation on that, but just how much more efficient it is for our team members, which once again isn't any type of data shared here, but we were spending 20 hours plus a week, somebody managing who had it, where is it, double checking it, updating it, right? Making sure we had the right versioning, who needs to access it. Once again, across, multiple projects, but that was, we've estimated that at a half a week. And then the other part is just the quality, the QA reviews, right? Just because of the lack of data relationships and the lack of the control, really that fourth bullet point there, because of those things, it was very excessive, and it allowed us to convert that time when we get into some of the benefits. I'll kind of speak to that, but lots of challenges, and once again, not alone, right?
So as you were facing all these challenges, can you speak a little bit about how you found Ninox, what the process was, how many other platforms that were trying to do something similar did you guys try out before you found us? And I would love to hear you talk about understanding what Ninox was, reaching this sort of eureka moment when you realize how much of your business can run on this thing. Take us through sort of your experience, finding and exploring and ultimately coming to be a Ninox power user.
Yeah, the greatest thing is we put a lot of time and effort into our Relialytics asset management system, and that's at this point we're probably upwards of 50 practitioners with on average 25 years experience. So we have all these great ideas, all these great tools, and we'll share some of them with you at the end. But we've really built this tool set and this system to support asset management and support the framework. So really support what we do as a business, right? The challenge is it lived in all of those different places. So, I would say that it was like my personal, mandate or objective and my number one for the last 10 years. So I've been searching for this up to this point. It would have been 10 years. So I've been working in Ninox for about 5. The previous 10, I was searching for this platform. And I've estimated it. I went through 10 different similar, and I won't name drop any of them, right? Because they all have their purpose out there. But, I was 0 for 10, and that's, downloading the trial or paying for 1 month or paying for 6 months and putting, 40 hours, 80 hours, 100 hours, trying to convert these great tools that we have into a more accessible solution that, it's funny because you say tool, but if it's an Excel file, it's actually a static Excel file. And when it becomes a tool that multiple people use, it's actually multiple files. And when you have to rev that sucker up, you're having to track all those down. And I have horror stories about tracking down 80 different global assessment tools to make an update. So I think, you know, we put a lot of time and effort into trying to make those work. And I honestly, back in 2010, started learning database language, and I got about 120 hours into it, thinking that was the route that I'd have to go. And I'm like, there has to be a better way. And I went on that mandate of searching. And I told you a few days ago, I almost stopped searching and I almost went back to learning it, right? Because I'm like, there isn't a better way. I have to learn it. And I don't even remember where I saw it or stumbled across it, but it was absolutely a eureka moment. And it's really empowered us to convert all these tools to be very accessible, you know, very powerful. And, you know, I just, from a price point, from an ease of use, from a ease of, you know, a learning curve, you know, I sound like I work for Ninox, but I'm just really being the case study. It's a great platform.
No, that's okay. And I mean, at this point, just for anyone who is new to Ninox, who doesn't know about our platform, just to give you a base in you know, from the way that Quinton was discovering the platform, Ninox at its core is a development platform for business apps. It is something that enables someone like me or like Quinton, who has been living in spreadsheets our whole lives. My background as well is in investment banking and consulting. So I've grown up around spreadsheets and faced, you know, all of the same issues that Quinton is talking about with the broken down macros and the late nights and the version control. It is a platform that allows you to take the information, to take the data that you're managing on a daily basis and put it into a structured place where you can analyze it, where you can view it in different ways, and something that connects to all of your other platforms. So this is something that, one, for Quinton, for you, getting information into Ninox from your historic platforms was likely just a CSV download. But for people who are using other platforms and who will continue to use them on a regular basis, Ninox sits on a REST API, and this allows you to connect easily to all of the other applications that you're using around there. We really see Ninox as the database center of a digitally enabled business. So it's the place where everything else can come to play and you can get a full picture of what your business is doing, eliminating data silos, allowing everyone to be on the same page all the time, to not worry about version control, to not worry about, do I have the most updated information? I mean, this is when people, you know, speak to reaching the eureka moment, as Quinton has, you realize that this is a platform where you can run all of your business, manage all of your data, and push it out to any of the other applications that you're using and will need to use on a continued basis.
Yeah, it's funny. Thought of like what rev? I haven't. We must have said that 1,000 times for over a couple of years. What rev do you have? What version are you on? Right, and it's just thankfully that's gone. And no code. I think one other thing that you didn't mention is the no code emphasis. Right. So just to reiterate, I'm not a programmer, and when we get into the benefits here, our experience kind of we can roll these out, but it's going to kind of align with these. You know, it's just taking. You having that no code platform where you have an idea, you have a functional requirement, something that you want done, and just converting that over into reality. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ninox sits in that no code space, which we sometimes, you know, a term we sometimes don't use because it intimidates people, but that's really what it is. It's allowing you to do things that you used to need a development partner for, someone who writes code. And it allows you to do all these things with the skills that you had before. So dragging and dropping basic logic functions that you would have been familiar from using a platform like Excel, as Quinton and I used to live in. And it allows you to be able to pull this together. Honestly, most of the time spent developing Ninox applications is spent in ideation, in understanding where you want your data relationships to be, how you want them to work. Actually putting those into practice using the Ninox platform, I mean, Quinton, how quick is it? Once you know what you want to build, how easy is it to get there?
Yeah, I'll share the file with you, and I share this with you once again. Previously, a lot of conversations we've had that really resonating here is, you know, I think I estimated it was like, you know, 400 hours or something in developing, you know, converting one of our, trying to make the next better version of it in Excel. So a tool that we have, very successful tool, very powerful, helps strategize actually the asset management gap analysis improvement plan, just trying to make the next best rev of that. And you had 400, probably, you know, 300 to 400 hours into it over 6 months. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to build it. I'm going to build it in Ninox. And when I did, I think in 80 hours, then I got like 10% of the way through. And now I have this very robust tool that we're excited to share with you guys here today. But, you know, I think in 80 hours, it was almost completely built. It was functional. And then it was fine tuning that last 10 to 20%, really putting the bells and whistles on. And, you know, once again, just everyone knows Excel. It's generally easy to work with, right? Yes, when you get into the macros, it can get a little more complicated, but not even you know, the fact that I didn't even have to dive into like macro land or the programming land and be able to convert that thing over. You know, once again, I'm the cheerleader here on this.
But yeah, absolutely. And what Quinton is talking about, which he'll show us later, is a super complex application that he's developed on the Ninox platform. So, you know, the development time for that is obviously a little bit greater, but we see customers who are putting out applications for managing CRM, for managing ERP, same day when they have an idea of what they want. Building an MVP, at least on Ninox, is a very quick application. And the great thing about it is what we're eliminating is the conversation, we're eliminating this gap between the user of these applications and the developers of these applications. Yeah. So someone like myself or like Quinton, we often know exactly what we want the application that we're working with to do. We know exactly how we want the data to look, how we want to be able to transform it, how we want to be able to analyze it. And historically, that conversation, that communication gets lost in between, you know, telling it to a developer. He puts through a version of what he thinks you want. Turns out it really wasn't. You guys weren't speaking the same language. What Ninox is going to allow when you implement it within your organization is for you to be speaking the same language as the person who's developing your applications. And in some cases, like we have here, to completely eliminating the gap. The user becomes the developer of the applications that you're using for your business.
Yeah, I think that's really key to our space. Like, you know, we're practitioners. We pride ourselves on the time and effort that we put into the pre-thought, the data libraries that we have, the documented guidelines. We put so much time and effort into a standard way, you know, taking something like asset management that can be perceived as complex and coming up with a simple and effective solution with it, right? So we put a lot of time and effort into that, and it really allows us to brainstorm. And MVP, for those of you that aren't key to that term, it's a minimally viable product. You know, we have probably 10 to 20 of those scenarios where we know what we want done. We brainstorm with the customer specific to their asset management solution, and we're coming up with these functional requirements that quickly get converted into practice. And within the same day, sometimes it's hours, we're actually applying that, right? So it's just, I think I'll touch on it in the next slide, but as far as the benefits, let me kind of just emphasize anything here. You know, we talked about using lots of spreadsheets. You know, the key thing is, you know, providing additional value to our customers. I'm going to emphasize that, you know, probably another 2 or 3 times throughout. I think that's the biggest thing, not having bogged down in that and being more creative in that way. You know, greater scalability and utility of our analytics. It kind of, you know, we know how we want to look at the data. You know, we put a lot of time and effort into understanding the relationships between all of the different data that drives asset management. The power of the Ninox platform versus Excel is, you know, it's night and day there. And really our data-driven decision-making is at an all-time high based on that, right? You know, we're not waiting on and having to build these, you know, bulky things. Just the key aspects of what we've used it for. Heavy into project management, it's been great. Those of you that, you know project management, you have a project plan, this is visual. All of our databases that we've built are driven. It's almost like the project management built into the flow of the deliverables that we expect. So once again, our team knows what they're responsible for. They know where they're supposed to interface with it. The customer can see it at the same time at the right, you know, once again, with that right user access. And I mentioned a few times over, but the data analytics and the risk analysis. So, you know, and I mentioned the 10 plus years, 10 different software applications. And, you know, this is a great one.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm glad you mentioned the scalability of the Ninox platform. We talk a lot, you know, anyone who's managing data about, you know, the wheel of death. How often were you experiencing that, you know, in the Excel spreadsheets that you were building before? And what does that look like now that you're transformed over?
Trying to forget about it. That's how much you experience it, right? It's funny, I mentioned I opened those up and it was just I heard a noise where your computer's just like, whoops. your computer's just like, woo, you know, that whole RAM running and trying to log it. So.
All right, great. So I think at this point we're ready to move into the live demo. Quinton, are you?
I did want to touch on a few benefits here, and then we'll shift to that real quickly. Just once again, kind of in closing of this, and we'll shift to the demo, and then I know we want to get to the QA, maybe broader discussion, get off the hopefully not death by PowerPoint.
Yeah, perfect.
So we calculated that all the time that we put into it, it was probably 300,000 plus, right? That's what our estimated 300,000 plus, and we've converted that once again into better product for the customers, right? Those of you that are in business, the more that you can emphasize quality and emphasize, you know, I said I'd mention it again, value for spend, like what we can put into making that better. That's the major area. We just redirected all of that into, you know, quality and delivery. You know, we can convert process into product. You talked about the MVP. That's a key benefit for us. If we can think it, our practitioners can think it. If we can collaborate with our customers on a solution, then we can create it, right? And I think that's the beauty of it. And they can see it. It's not a file that I'll send over in a little while. They can almost, you know, they can actually see it as it's being built. And the one thing that I think, you know, I would say of all the benefits, this is probably the greatest one, is, you know, the amount, once again, you know, not being a programmer and the no code aspect of it, it's really stimulated our team's innovation and creativity, right? We're not programmers, right? We weren't programmers, we're not programmers, and I guess we're loosely kind of, you know, no code programmers now, but I think that's just a big part, and really I think that spills over in, once again, to our customer collaboration, you know, their innovation, their thoughts, what they want to do. And it's really allowed us to continue to transition that whole asset management framework into usable tools and solutions via our Relialytics AMS, you know, currently built on the Ninox platform. So it's just taking all that work that I shared with you and making it accessible. And this is what we built, kind of in closing, shifting over to the demo. These are just the core ones that we're focused on right now. And yeah, we can jump right over to the demo if you want. I was thinking about showing a couple of the bulky spreadsheets, maybe in about a minute's worth of snapshots, just so you guys can appreciate the complexity of those. And then I'll kind of navigate through a few of these here. Does that work?
Awesome. And I think once everybody sees what you've developed, we'll all agree that you are certainly a no-code developer, a no-code hero, I would even say.
Yeah, no-code hero, right. All right, so quickly, you know, these are going to be, you know, maybe boring, maybe not, but, you know, the one thing that I like to show is, you know, the number of tabs. This one's not too bad. But, you know, lots of static data. That's the challenge in all of these, right? Like all this data is in a static fashion. If I want to update this one analysis point, I had to do it in 80 files previously, right? So it's one place, big benefit there. This is that file that I said I had, you know, 300 to 400 hours into, and there's 24 functions in our framework. This is one, so I was 1/24th. A lot of other progress that I made, but you know, that's where I shifted over and rebuilt it. And that's the one that we'll highlight first in 80 hours. Bad actor analysis. This is like 40 megs, lots of data, you know, 113,000 records. It's one thing too, you know, you open up, I'll just say a CMMS platform that's well-known, that's built, you know, in Europe, you open it up, it takes, you know, 5 minutes for 1,000 records to show, or maybe, you know, a couple minutes for a few thousand records to show. We're opening up that same, you know, 50, 60,000 list that I referred to, and it's displaying in like 10, 15 seconds, right? So of course there's a delay. There's 60,000 records. There's, you know, 100 fields or so, right? But just how quickly lots of data can be managed. And I also mentioned about, you know, my RAM kicking in. This is just a lot of different data. From a bad actor analysis, and we'll detail the bad actor analysis pretty briefly. And then lastly, this is the scary one, the version up there, version 128 or so. And I right click here. You're just going to see there's just a lot of different data, but once again, not connected and not intertwined, and sharing this file, you know, across the various platforms is just, you know, very tricky. So we can kind of jump in and you guys can get a dose of the platform itself. Jump over to the main screen here. So these are those same, you know, tools pulled up. You know, this is our asset management gap analysis and improvement plan. I've for a lot of these, you'll see I've redacted a number of them that we can navigate into. So, you know, from a confidentiality perspective, seeing data, I've deleted a lot of records here. We've done over 200 gap analysis and improvement plans over the course of our practitioners' experience. Here, I just have 5 listed. These are just different tables. So if you think of a spreadsheet and a tab, these are different tabs. This depicts that there's a relationship between the various tabs. You mentioned you wanted me to show a data model, and this is the data relationship. I think this is a pretty clean view. So envision all of these as different spreadsheets, but they have a relationship amongst the other spreadsheets, right? So kind of talking spreadsheet speak, these are different tabs of information, but they're interconnected and interrelated. And really, this is, you know, all pulling from our Relialytics platform, and all the time and effort we've put into that. This is a really clean depiction of how we've converted it over into, you know, I wouldn't call it a minimally viable product, I'd call it a very viable product at this point, because this is at the core of it. But jumping in, you know, these are different, you know, gap analysis that have been performed. You can kind of jump into, you know, a particular one here has the ability, you can share, you know, we have our management system framework here shown. You can depict formulas. All of this rolls up and is calculated. When we go on to do, you know, data collection, you're looking at, you know, asset identification is one of our, you know, 24 functions. We look at prioritization. You can click right into that. Here's an example of what asset prioritization is. So just the ability, you'd never be able to do that, right? This is the fact that you can quickly show examples. Once again, I mentioned all the guidelines that we have documented. This shows a real life example that's applicable to being used within this data set. And then just going into the actual scoring, you know, it's all color formatted, red, yellow, green, and then the ability to roll all that data up. And I mentioned, you know, that one change, like we literally, if I want to change this definition for all 200 plus assessment or gap analyses, right, or you know, data collection things, one benefit, it's a one-time change and it transfers throughout.
So prior to Ninox, did you guys just have someone that you would assign to go through all of those different files and make changes like that?
It was me. Anyone on our team knows that was my primary job was remembering a lot, because you got to remember to follow up on all that and take, you know, pretty good notes. So, but no, it's just, I think the navigation, the way that we've designed this, I think this is a good example of the power of Ninox, and then the power of our, you know, Relialytics solutions in combination, just being this great product that allows us to go through and you know, optimize interfaces and optimize, you know, time spent, customer spent, development time, you know, and really just, you know, collect the data and make decisions based on it, right?
Absolutely.
I might shift over, you know, just the ability. There's a lot of different ways you can see it. I'm sure you guys are seeing just so many different views, you know, individuals that have been a part of these. I can kind of jump back out to the top.
Yeah, it'd be great to show some of the different ways that you guys are visualizing the data in different views.
Yeah, so that's more of like a facilitated review. You want to educate somebody on what is asset management, what are these gap analysis points, how do we score it, really, you know, facilitating input from them. The bad actor analysis, this is an example of, you know, you have these heavy, you know, whether it's a macro that has to be run, or you have hundreds of thousands of records that have to be analyzed. I guess a good way of looking at that quickly would be if we pull at the work order history itself. You know, this is, I think I have a filter on, pull the filter off. You know, this is 32,000 records. And I mean, just how quickly, you know, a filter works on that just makes it really easy to, you know, in this case, we have a lot of different failure history on, you know, we look at their work order history over the last 5 years, analyze what work is reactive. We can just quickly break it down either by, you know, data sets and analyzing to say, hey, you know, one of the efforts we did here was confirming all of the work was classified the right way. And then once it's classified the right way, you know, using the power of the Ninox platform to, you know, calculate how much we care about it, right? And, you know, these are just quick calculations. Anyone that's used Excel and goes into a cell and says, I want this to repeat every time, you build it once, it replicates throughout. We just have various ways of looking at the data and how all that data rolls up to say, you know, this is a really powerful tool because we won't get deep dive the state of good repair analysis, but this actually feeds, I talked about assets. These are different assets that people are using or companies are using within their operation, and which ones are kicking your butt, right? So this is really a good way of showing different than the previous gap analysis lens, where you have screens that you're navigating through information that you want to pop up and show. This is more around, probably one individual analyzing a bunch of data, very heavy. I think the file that I showed in Excel was 40 megs, right? And just being able to navigate that, display the information to the customer to have them make that risk-based objective decision.
That's a great point, and that reminds me. I mean, you can do filtering in Excel, Quinton. So what is the difference? Utilizing the filtering capabilities on the Ninox platform and the different view capabilities relative to what filtering would have done to your previous Excel models, and how that would have affected the opportunity to make a mistake or to disrupt the model.
Yeah, and then it goes back to the quality assurance piece, right? So that being one of our core values, it's having these tools that I want to design out errors, right? And I think that's what we've done, and we continue to focus on that, but I think shifting over to this platform, it's funny, we had a potential data integrity question yesterday, and I knew based on the design of our inputs to the functional requirements and then how it performs on the Ninox platform versus spreadsheets, that it was just interpretation of it. It was, we have designed that flaw out. And I think, a good example would be the speed. One is speed, right? How quickly this performs. You can run that query on 30,000 records. I think it's a speed thing. Those might be close. The biggest thing is the errors. If you copy and paste when you have a filter on within a spreadsheet, unless you've either learned the hard way or you're given insight on how to do it, you can actually make a lot of, once again, data integrity errors there. When you put a filter on here, you're only touching those records because it's not rows in a spreadsheet. They're actually core data records that you're touching, and you're touching fields within it. So once again, a lot of that's been designed out. I think that's the biggest thing, is the quality.
That's awesome. And Quinn, can you just show quickly, just in edit mode of Ninox under one of the, how easily it is to let's say that you decide that you need a new field for one of your applications, and you want to make sure that field is tied to data from another table. Can you just demonstrate, how you would go in, create that field in your table and create a data relationship?
Yeah, just quickly, interesting that I didn't have to put admin mode on it. I'm so used to doing that, right? But if you are assigned as an admin, comes back to your user rights, you can go to edit the fields within a given table, and then they have all different types of fields, text, numbers, choice. That's the whole idea of us being able to brainstorm and come up with these solutions. There was a question the other day, can we do electronic signature, in the platform? Well, do you really want to sign it, or do you want it to be a password stamp, right? Because it goes into qualifying what electronic signature is, but lots of different fields. If we wanted to drop a date field in, you drop a date field in there. I'll just leave it as date and time. And it's right here. If you want to change the size of it, this is where you have to be an admin, but you can literally change the size of it. There's formatting. I mean, it's literally drag and drop, no code. Now you can probably, maybe not so quickly, but see how, I shifted and built what we needed in 80 hours. It's like you're throwing in, I want this value, I want to put it in this place, I want it to have this formatting. That's the one piece. You talked about making a relationship to other tables. Those of you that have lived through Microsoft Access and the table relationships, that's a quick thing. You're just literally dropping it. If I'm in the system table and I want to have a parent-child relationship, you're literally just dropping that value in. I've already made it once, right? You're dropping that field in, and that relationship is made. So it's a very smooth thing. And I think that's part of, we put a lot of thought into data relationships, right? I know data is one of our implementation mechanisms. We put a lot of thought into that, and this has really empowered us to make sure that those are honored, right? And that the right data relationships exist, and drive the processes the way that they need to be driven.
Awesome. And when you're developing things for customers now, how much is building in Ninox changed the sort of development process? How much does it change the number of customers that you're able to support at one time? And I mean, do you even feel comfortable, live creating applications live with customers as they're giving you insights into what they need?
Just a succinct way of answering that would be, we actually are developing in the database while they're using it, and they don't know that we're doing it, right? So it goes back to a couple of things. One, what they can see. So we turn off the things that we're developing, they can't even see it. So we're developing around it. We're making these relationships within it. We have, the better part of 2 years of experience in that. And, yes, there's always some blips and there's always some, the screen change, there has to be refreshed. That's just the nature of the beast of any type of data development. But yeah, we've I think have 2 years of case studies of showing that many customers and many interfaces, right? So, and it's funny, we'll get a call to, hey, can you do this? Can you update this, right? And within 15 minutes, they're getting, it's not a, ideally work tickets and it follows some kind of chain of command, but things are being updated live. And that's the beauty of our team members, once again, coming up with ideas, because if they can think it, and we're continually making, these are kind of 10 core products. We're making these better on a day-to-day basis, and getting the team kind of, empowering our employees, and really empowering.
And just as a final question, because I really wanted to reiterate, the difference between spreadsheets and a database platform like Ninox. So your team was previously using spreadsheets for all of managing all of the data within your organization. So what does that look like today? What do you use spreadsheets versus Ninox for now, from maybe from a percentage basis? And when would you say it makes sense to use spreadsheets versus when would you say it makes sense to use Ninox for your organization?
I mean, the way that if I had pen and paper, I would probably, that would probably be, 20 to 50% of having to use Excel today, because I just do brainstorming. I'm collecting information. It's really like the sandbox of collecting some information and figuring out how I want to, render it to be loaded in, maybe exporting it from like a platform like SAP and getting it into, it's really just a medium. That's the purpose of it, to be honest, as far as our day-to-day support of our customers. And then, it's really exciting because, Ninox has afforded us the ability to get Analytics out to our customers and get these modules out and accessed. But, we're not looking back. I mean, we're going to get to 100% soon, or maybe it's 95. You always have these, potential small cases that you need it for. But I'll reiterate what I said earlier, just in closing on that question is, if you have information in a spreadsheet that, more than one person needs to access or update or see, it doesn't even have to be complicated. These are sophisticated. There's, decades of thought that went into it. There's risk analysis, there's data analytics. It can be as basic, or as you mentioned earlier, with a minimally viable product, as complex as a CRM, or, theoretically a CMMS. And what we're building in, our asset management system, it kind of retires the need of that, right?
Absolutely, great. So, all right, at this point, we're going to open up for some questions. Attendees can feel free to drop questions either in the chat or to just raise your hands, and we can get you guys into the stream to ask questions directly. But while we're waiting for those to come in, the one other thing that I wanted you to reiterate was lots of your team is using Ninox now. Can you talk a little bit about the learning curve, how long it takes to get up and comfortable understanding the way to build data relationships in Ninox, understanding how everything is working and being able to use it effectively?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have. We did onboard a formal programmer just to, we put a lot of time and effort into making sure that these, systems are designed well. But we do have a QA of our design team, right, of our no coders. But there's, I guess, the best way to answer that would be there's about 5 of us that had no coding experience before, and we're actively supporting, taking these ideas, from our Relialytics platform and continuing to convert them over, or once again, collaborating and building them. So once again, it's 5 people that never had coding experience, and they were doing it in weeks, right? Some faster than others, but it's not months. It's not going to coding school. It's just learning it. And between myself and a gentleman by the name of Byron Kaiser, we're the ones that are QAing and double checking formulation and connectivity and data relationships, right? Double checking algorithms, but yeah, it's a quick learning curve for sure. I mean, for me to go from, never interfacing with the Ninox platform to converting something I'd spent 100 hours on, getting it done in 80 hours, I think that speaks to how quickly you can stand these things up.
That's awesome. All right, guys, any questions for Quinton or myself at this point about the platform? Got one from...
Yeah, the cloud base.
Absolutely. Yep. Looks like that one's for me. Let me, so from Redme, he asks, I think Ninox is cloud-based. That is absolutely true. Can you install/use Ninox in a private environment? So this is actually something that Quinton can speak to as well. The answer to that is absolutely yes. So our standard Ninox product is our public cloud product. It lives completely in the cloud. We also have a private cloud option through our cloud vendors. So such as Amazon AWS, where you could have a private server just for your team. And also for our enterprise customers, we have a on-premise level. So if you truly wanted to host the data on your premises, we can set that up for you. Quinton, I believe you and your team have a private cloud instance with Amazon AWS. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we have that. We were on public for a while. We recently shifted late last year over to our own private cloud, our own Amazon server, AWS server. And to your third point, we're actually working with one of our key customers, and they're doing exactly that. They're standing it up on their own private instance, their own private environment. So where their SAP PM platform lives, where all their SharePoint lives, that same level of security and protection that they desire, they're parking that right there, and it's operating just as it would a SharePoint or as it would a CMMS platform, right?
And was that something that your customers were requesting or pushing for, Quinton?
I may have recommended it. I think I recommended it, but yeah, I mean, it's just, it's comes back down to just wanting you guys have a great security model. I thought I'd potentially get one of those questions, and I'm ready to answer that, but very protected. It's ISO certified, right? It's ISO 11568 compliant, but a lot of these big companies have a lot of potential security breaches, and I think that was they probably would have driven to that. But it was a combination of us recommending and then them ultimately desiring it.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions for Quinton? I can get you guys into the chat. He can dive into more deep data related questions or just things at a high level. Okay. Let's see what we got from Daniel Rodriguez. And he says, hi, overall, could you tell us a bit of experience with integrations with third parties such as mail providers, AI platforms, dashboards, or reporters? Quinton, do you have some experience integrating with API?
Yes. So I'll answer it, and you might answer from your perspective. Ours is a good example of that is, SAP PM, pretty well known, pretty well used within the maintenance and reliability world. They have a Microsoft Excel graphical user interface. We're trying to get past that and go right from Ninox to SAP. But we actually have it to where we can integrate between. We take the data when I've shared with you some of the different analytics that we have. Once the data is analyzed with our algorithms, with our input from the Relialytics platform, taking the customer's data in, analyzing it, getting a new enriched, optimized data platform, it actually, we have it set up to where a click of a button, it goes right back into SAP. So I think that's something that we spent a lot of time on, and kudos to Byron Kaiser for the work that he put into that. But I know, we have about 6 minutes left, but I know that there's an entire integration platform that you guys have with all of these different, we need to continue to explore those, but I know that that's you guys have that pretty substantial.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from a high level, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, but Ninox sits on a REST API, and we work really closely with our other no-code partners at Zapier and Integromat to provide access to integrating, hundreds of different applications on the Ninox platform with a number of different transformations that you can do with the data in order to get it into the platform. Inside of every Ninox instance, the administrator of that platform has access to API codes to set up directly with the Zapier or Integromat, or to go ahead and dive in yourselves as well. And
just, to Daniel, just to quickly close that, and then we can jump on the next question from Mark, but you can go to, if you go to the Ninox.com, they have the integrations and they really do a nice job. You can search by, do you want us to go to MailChimp? Do you want us to go to Outlook? Do you want us to go to To-Do, right? And it shows you all the hundreds of different integrations that they have. The question from Mark Bell, did you start off with a template or just dive straight in? I mean, both, right? I think the primary thing is you have something, you have data that you're using. So if it's something that you've been doing routinely, collecting information, reviewing information, exporting information from your current CMMS platform to try to wrap your head around it. A lot of these, unfortunately, they're not designed, ironically enough, to interface with the data, right? So you can get it into a cleaner platform and look at it. So I think more often than not, we started with, I'm sorry, you're talking about a template within Ninox as well. Honestly, built from scratch because we had our own kind of Excel template or whatever Access template that we're using to work with that. I do know that they have some pretty nice templates. The best thing I would say, depending upon what your end goal is, you can learn a lot from those templates, right? So you can start with the template and kind of explore the functions, the data relationships, the way that fields are used, how they've rendered things on the screen. I think you can kind of reverse engineer and learn a lot from that.
Awesome, thanks. And then from Mark Bell, did you discover new things that you couldn't do before? Maybe things that you just couldn't do with spreadsheets?
Yes, but it wasn't things that we didn't know. It wasn't that we didn't know that we wanted to do it or we didn't know how to functionally do it, right? I think that's the idea. I talked about, one of the key benefits to this is the creativity and innovation. It stimulates. It's like, you know that you wanted to do these first 5 things and you spend, 100 hours or a couple weeks or a couple years trying to get Excel to be better, Access to be better, and you're kind of stuck. You almost have like a ceiling on your creativity. So in short, absolutely a lot more. And I think it's really accelerated our team's development and really continues to optimize the services that we provide to our customers. I mean, we're all about continuous improvement and, never stopping, trying to find a better way. So it's absolutely impacted us in that fashion. And it's really our DNA, right? So it complements our DNA as a team.
Quinton, since we're coming to the end of the time, how can people reach out to you? Who should reach out to you for the types of services that you guys are providing? Feel free to do a shameless plug right now.
Yeah, well, if we're going to do that, that would be Thomas Kurtz, and that's we can share that information. I think we're going to be coordinating with Ninox over the next few days, so we'll promise to get something out to all the participants, if not by Friday. I'm sure it'll be Friday, knowing Thomas, but maybe early next week at the latest. But and feel free to reach out to me as well. We're all about collaboration and just talking through problems and situations. Our core focus is asset management, so ideally it's within that realm. But even if it's pinging me from just a user experience, via email, I'm pretty prompt on replying back to that. So we'll get that information out. You can feel free to reach out to me and be expected to just see a follow-up, so you guys have the conduit to us and obviously the conduit to Ninox.
Absolutely. And from a Ninox perspective, for those of you who haven't dived into the platform yet, we do offer a 30-day free trial. It takes nothing but an email to get signed up. And you know, to the point that was made before, we do have a lot of great templates to help you get started and just understand the things that are possible. But again, it takes a little bit of time using the platform to get to this moment of realizing that all the ways that you've been managing your data in spreadsheets and through other mechanisms before, we're really putting the handcuffs on you. What Ninox is going to provide is the flexibility to manage and visualize your data the way that you want to do it, and have it integrated with all of the other applications that you want to use, and to do all that without code, to really turn yourself into somebody who's more powerful and more valuable to your organization because of the way that you can manage so much data. That's what Ninox does. It allows you to digitally transform your mind, to digitally transform your business. So feel free to go to our website, Ninox.com, where you can start a 30-day free trial. We do webinars like this almost every day. Some of them are much more technical. We do webinars just on understanding APIs, and our partners over at Integromat, how to build those integrations. We do accounting focused webinars. We do really across the gambit of whatever your use case is. So you can check us out at Ninox.com on our webinar page for what's coming up next. But we always have new exciting content.
Yeah, just one more quick thing on that same plug, triadunlimited.com. If you want to check out more about us, follow us, feel free to follow us on LinkedIn. And then I know Redmi Note 9 Pro, he had a question on the Q&A chat there. I think the best way, I don't know that we have the time to answer it. I'll follow up, or I'll make it a point to follow up via that, because it's more of an SAP question, as Excel being the middleman. So once we get the contact information from the registrants, I'll follow up you specifically. And we have a lot of time, spend a lot of time there. Feel like we have an optimized solution of really the balance between Ninox and SAP.
Awesome. Thanks, Quinton. I really appreciate you joining. This is really, such an optimal use case around transforming your business, moving away from spreadsheets, and hopefully alleviating a lot of those late night macro breakdowns and nightmares. So thanks for joining. Thanks everyone for joining this event. Check us out at Ninox.com, but we'll be reaching out to everyone via email in the coming days. Thanks a lot.
Great job. Appreciate it. Thanks, Morris.
Thank you, Quinton.
Have a good day. Thanks, everybody.